Hi everybody, this is Andrea for the Learning Bear Podcast, your resource for wild professional development. Today we're going to be doing a continuation of the summer series I've started, specifically talking about outdoor activities. We are doing a very specific part of outdoor activities, which is hiking and walking trails. So let's get started. Before we really get into hikes with your kids, we needed to talk about safety. Before doing any activities, you need to do the following. Apply sunscreen, especially if you're going to be in direct sunlight. But you can get sunburn on a cloudy day, so apply sunscreen. And I'm not talking about that crusty stuff that's been in your bathroom for 20 years. Go out and buy some fresh sunscreen and apply it liberally. And if you're going to be in a watering circumstance like the beach, you should apply again later. Now, wear a hat and sunglasses. Hats can protect you from bugs getting in your hair. If you're a female or if you're a male with longer hair, you definitely should wear a hat because ticks are a serious problem during the summer. So wear a hat. And if you have a bigger brim that goes all the way around, the more the merrier, because it's going to protect your ears, it's going to protect your neck, it's going to protect part of your shoulders. So the bigger the hat, the better. Those big floppy hats do some work. If you can wear sunglasses, I recommend them too because they protect your eyes. I cannot wear sunglasses because I have prescription glasses and contacts are just a hassle. But if you can wear sunglasses or get a pair of prescription sunglasses, do so because you need to protect your eyes. When you go on a hike, make sure you pack plenty of water. I cannot stress this enough. Keep a gallon in your car. Even if it's warm, at least you have some water. You also want some easy-to-eat snacks like a banana or some grapes or some nuts. Stuff that doesn't have a lot of packaging is always great because you can just throw a banana peel in your bag real easy, or some grape stems. Don't litter. Please don't litter, but have snacks that don't have a lot of packaging because it'll be a lot easier for you. Next, apply bug spray as necessary. I know some people don't like to apply bug spray, and I get it. I don't either. But if you're going to be in a dense area with lots of mosquitoes or other bugs, you should do it. I will say there are some non-bug spray alternatives you can try. You'll have to do some research about them. I have tried the one where you take fabric softening sheets and you put them on your person, either in your backpack or your pants or whatever, and it does help me. I don't know if it helps everybody, but it does help me. So it's worth a try. Next, make sure you wear proper footwear. I can't stress this enough. You need something that's going to support your feet for the long-term standing that you're going to be doing, especially in uneven ground. If you're doing trail hiking, you want something that protects your ankle as well, because if you twist your ankle and you're by yourself, well, you're kind of screwed. So make sure you have proper footwear. No flip-flops. You don't need to go out and buy $300 boots, but you do need proper footwear. Make sure you dress appropriately. If you're going, again, into a densely populated area, and by population, I mean like a grassy field that's overgrown or in a forest or something, you're going to want to wear long sleeves and long pants. You can find loose-fitting, cool clothing that it will cover the majority of your body, and I definitely recommend it. It'll protect you from bugs. It'll protect you from the sun. A lot of the elements will be inhibited from getting on you if you wear long clothing. I understand that it's hot and you don't want to wear those things. I get it. I sweat just like everybody else, but sometimes it is appropriate to do that. If it's going to be raining, you should definitely have a raincoat as well. A legitimate raincoat is always worth the money. I can attest to that. Next, if you're going with your kids, and we're going to talk about this more in a moment, but you're going to want to discuss the senses with them. You can use your sense of sight, your sense of smell, your sense of hearing, your sense of touch even on some occasions, but do not let them eat anything. No matter how sure you are that it is whatever you think it is, do not let them eat anything. You have no idea what's going on there, and there's no reason to get sick if it can be avoided. So don't let them eat anything. You can always look at something, you can always hear something, but don't taste it. Lastly, if you are hiking by yourself, make sure you tell someone where you're going and when you expect to return. Take enough water and food for you for maybe the next day. A map may be a good idea. Don't just rely on your technology because it will fail you. And maybe some form of self-defense like a whistle, a pepper spray, or a hiking stick. And always, if you're hiking by yourself especially, hike with a first aid kit. I keep first aid kits in our cars at all times, as well as CPR masks. Keep them around because you just never know, okay? Now, for your kids, do all those things we just talked about, but here's an extra level. Talk to your kids about why you're doing these things. Talk to them about safety when hiking. I have found that if you inform your kids why you're doing what you're doing, not only will they be more invested in it, but they're more likely to follow through the next time. So if you tell them, hey, we don't wear flip-flops when we hike, and this is why, well, the next time they're not even going to grab their flip-flops. They're going to grab their shoes, okay? Informing your kids about why they do what they do, or why you do what you do, is really important. When you're hiking with your kids, start small, okay? Don't put yourself through a 5-mile hike on the first shot. Especially if you're carrying them, that's going to make a long hike real quick. So start small with a half mile, a mile. You might find you don't like it, and that's okay. You might find your kids really don't like it. That's okay too. Try again another time. Starting small is the way to do it. In any form of exercise, you want to start small and work your way up. Be prepared to take a lot of breaks. This is a struggle for me. You just have to go in with the mindset that it's going to take you a long time, and you have to be patient, and there's nothing wrong with sitting around on a rock and smelling the roses while your kid eats a snack. It's frustrating at times, but if you go in with the right mindset, you can totally overcome it. So just be prepared to take a lot of breaks, and that's okay. Have lots of snacks and water. We already talked about that. Make sure bathroom breaks are possible, either your destination that you're hiking to as a bathroom or when you come back. If your kids are taking lots of breaks and eating lots of snacks and water, they're going to need to go to the bathroom. They're also going to need to wash their hands because you can bet they're going to have their hands in something. So make sure there's a bathroom available of some kind, or you have some way of providing that for them. Lastly, and this is true for you as an adult, not just as a kid, make sure you have a change of shoes and clothes depending on the age of your kid and the type of hike. If it's going to be raining, change of shoes for yourself is never a bad idea. Extra socks, always a good idea. If you think they're going to get muddy, change of clothes would be great for your kids so you're not muddying your car up. And with that, have like a plastic bag where you can throw all those dirty clothes in so they don't muck up your car. So, change of clothes and shoes is always a must, in my opinion, or a change of hat or whatever. It never hurts to be prepared, is all I'm trying to say. So moving on to the specific hikes. The first hike we're going to talk about is the sunny day hike. Here's some easy games you can play. And for the record, you can play these games anytime. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sunny day hike. These are just where I lumped them. So the first one is the ABC game. Pick a topic. It can be trees, it can be plants, it can be just nature in general, it can be your whole hike. Start with A. Find something on the ground or something you can think of that starts with A. Acorn. Then you move on to B. And you can do, 5 things per letter. You can decide by letter, because X obviously is going to be a little more challenging. It's a really fun game. You can change the category all the time. You can talk about movies or books, whatever. It gets them talking and it gets them distracted. The next one is the PAN game, and PAN stands for plant, animal, or neither. This is a really great game because as your kids grow up, they're going to have to differentiate between living and non-living in science. So this already gets them talking about it. So you point something out, is that P, A, or N? And they tell you, plant, animal, or neither. It's a great game. The next is a counting game, and I'll admit, my husband and I like to play this in the car when we travel. We like to count Tesla or some other electric car. You can do this with your kids. Let them decide ahead of time. We're going to count birds today, or we're going to count bird calls, or we're going to count nuts, or we're going to count squirrels. Now, obviously, you don't want to count leaves because that'll take forever, but if your kids are enamored by a certain plant, you could do that. Be smart about it, but you could totally do that. The next thing is the plant part scavenger hunt, which we're going to talk about in a second. And that one does require a little bit of prep ahead of time. So I'm going to share with you my list. momentarily. The last game, it's more advanced, and this may not be something you're interested in, and that's okay. It's called a log roll. Before I tell you what it is, though, never leave your trail. Trails are marked for a reason. They don't want you going off in another place because it causes erosion and habitat disturbs. We don't want that. So stay on your trail. But if on your trail there is an opportunity for a log roll, I highly recommend it if you're comfortable. Here's some safety that you need to know. When you find a log that you want to roll, you put your foot on the top of the log and you roll it towards you. You do not want to roll it away from you, because if there's a creature that's frightened underneath that log, it'll shoot out away from you if you do the log right. If you roll it away from you, the creature's going to shoot towards you, and nobody wants that. So again, put your foot on the log, roll it back towards you, and look under, make sure it's safe, and then you can look and see what's going on in there. Limit the amount of touching that your kids do, just to be safe, just to be cautious, but you can look and smell and hear all sorts of things down in a log roll, and it's so much fun. So definitely check it out if you can. As promised, here's the plant parts scavenger hunt. This is just a suggestion. You, in your own habitat, wherever you're located, may have something more relevant. And I would recommend talking to your local park rangers to help you find items for your scavenger hunt that actually make sense. But again, this is just a basic one. You're talking about different leaf shapes, different colors of leaves, different types of veins on the leaves. You can talk about different kinds of stems, flowers, buds. There's so many different kinds of bark you could talk about. So every time your kid would find one of these, you would mark it off, or maybe you give them points that builds up to a treat at the end, whatever. Just an idea. It's fun. Again, keeps them occupied and looking at the world around them without complaining so much. So check it out. So next we have the Cloudy Day hike. And again, any of the activities that I'm listing can be on any of the days. I just sort of lumped them with this. Cloudy days offer a different experience because they're usually cooler, and when it's cooler, animals come out more. Okay, when it's too hot, when it's these 100-degree days like I'm having, creatures are going to stay in their dens and their burrows because it's cooler for them. So cooler days offer a lot more availability. The first thing you can do is a color hike. Go to your local hardware store and you can get a bunch of paint chips, varying degrees of green and blue and yellow and red, and take some of them with you in a little baggie or a container, and your students can try to find those colors along the hike. And maybe if you do that hike more than once, your students could compete against themselves. This time they got 10 paint chips. Maybe the next time they get 20, whatever. Okay. Another game, and this would be if you're taking a break, is deer ears and owl eyes. If you take your hands and you cup them behind your ears, you'll notice that your hearing experience is much different. It's really fun to do. And I just did it as I was saying it. So that's how much fun it is. The second thing is owl eyes. And this is kind of like a calisthenic almost. You stretch your arms out and looking straight ahead. Can you see your fingers? Can you see your fingers moving? How far do you have to move them in to see them? It's just to get them thinking and talking. It's not like an experiment or anything necessarily. It's just a fun little game. And then the last thing, this requires a lot more preparation, but it's the wildflower classification game. This is available on the National Wildlife Federation's website. It's basically making a jar or a container of some kind. Maybe you don't want to take glass, understandably so. And you fill it with nuts and bolts and screws and all sorts of stuff. And like when you're taking a break, you dump out the thing maybe in like a little bowl, and you would try to classify them. Well, all of these have the same shape, or these are all the same length, or these are all the same color. And you can add some artificial flowers into that mix as well. So once you talk to them about how you would split these up into categories, you can apply it to nature. Well, this tree is like this tree because its bark's the same, or this tree is like this tree because its leaf's the same shape, and get them talking about how you would classify things. Again, this activity is available more in depth on the National Wildlife Federation's website, and it's called the Wildflower Classification Game. The last hike I want to talk about is the rainy day hike. And during a rainy day hike, there are many wonders you can experience that you wouldn't see on a sunny day or even a cloudy day, simply because the whole environment's different because of all the rain. So some easy things you can do with your kids are to discuss senses and their adjustment to the rain. Notice any smells, notice any changes in your hearing. The deer ears would be really fun with this. Find new things you haven't seen on a sunny or cloudy day hike. Again, when the environment changes, the availability of species changes as well. Spend time investigating puddles, but do so carefully. Again, limit your touching, but you can totally smell, look and hear cool things when you're near a puddle or a creek or so on. The last activity, again, just like with the other advanced activities I've offered you, only do this if you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable or you're overwhelmed in general, don't do this, and that's okay. If you have availability at both Small Creek on your hike and you're not leaving the trail, you can kind of sit by the water and talk to your kids about what's going on in the water. If you have a bug jar or some sort of container that you can scoop up some water, you can look and see if there's any macroinvertebrates living in the water, like little shrimp or something. Again, don't do this if you don't feel comfortable. That's okay. And definitely don't do this if it requires you to leave the trail. It's just a suggestion. We used to do it in parks all the time with our kids as part of the watershed experience, and they always loved it. But again, it requires some supervision and some definite safety protocol. So be careful if you do this. The last thing is if you're going to a park, like a state park or a national park, here's some things you should do. The first is talk to a ranger. They are wells of knowledge. Okay, they have so much information and they just are dying to talk to you, I promise. Especially if you find that thing they're interested in, like if you just go up to them and say, what's your favorite thing about this park? They will explode. Okay, everybody has their thing they're into. Somebody might talk to you about trees, somebody might talk to you about amphibians. Who knows? You don't know unless you ask, and they have the information for you. Next, investigate all of the labeled nature hikes. Most state parks, most national parks, even some city parks have small trails, maybe a half mile or so, maybe to a mile, where they have labeled trees and plants and have like little information plates about them. Check them out. Let your kids sound out those weird Latin names, read about the trees and so forth. It's fun and it helps you identify trees while on your hikes. Next, take a look at all the maps and check out all the nature centers. There's so much information, so much free information there. Take some maps with you. Sit down with your kids. See if you can figure out where you've been or where you want to go. Set some goals. Hang it up on your fridge so you can, next time we're hitting this hike. Okay? It's fun. And as far as an activity goes, I would recommend the Park Life Safari. With this, it's simply sitting on a bench for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, depending on how long your kids can stand it or sit it, and take in the world around you. Count how many sounds did you hear of wildlife? How many things did you see that are wildlife? Did you see droppings? Did you see cracked nuts? Did you see tracks? Count them just from that one spot where you are. Talk to your kids about how that makes them feel. Have a nice discussion with them. If you don't feel comfortable with doing any of these activities that I've talked about on any of the hikes, just having a conversation with them about what they're thinking is really meaningful for them, and they will appreciate it in the long run. And the fact that you're taking time to get to know them and spend meaningful time to them means more than anything you could ever buy. So try it sometime, okay? Well, that wraps up today's presentation. I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this and you take in some of these hikes. If you have any questions, as always, email me at learningbearpodcast@gmail.com. Subscribe, share, and like. Have a great day. Catch you later.